Am I the a-hole for exposing my wife's affair with my business partner in front of key investors? Hey Reddit. Let me start from the beginning. I am 38 years old, a self-made entrepreneur who spent the last 10 years building my company from the ground up. It wasn't easy. Sleepless nights, missed holidays, constant stress. But it paid off. My company became one of the rising stars in our industry, and we were on the verge of securing a massive investment that would take us to the next level. At the center of this deal was my business partner, Daniel. We started this journey together. He was like a brother to me. I trusted him with everything, finances, decisions, even my personal life. We celebrated together when we landed big clients, and we pulled each other through when times were tough. If you had told me a year ago that he would be the one to betray me, I would have laughed in your face. And then there was my wife, Emma. We had been married for 7 years. She was my rock during the early years of my business when I had nothing but dreams and debt. I adored her. I truly thought we had a solid marriage, despite the long hours I spent working. I thought she understood that everything I was doing was for our future. I thought we were a team. I was wrong. The signs were there, but I ignored them. The late-night phone calls. The sudden interest in going to the gym. The way she started dressing up even when she wasn't going anywhere special. I chalked it up to normal changes. After all, people evolve, right? It wasn't until I found a hotel receipt in her purse that the first seed of doubt was planted. I remember staring at it for a long time, my heart pounding. The date matched a night she had told me she was visiting her sister. My first instinct was denial. Maybe there was an explanation. Maybe it was a mistake. But deep down, I knew. I just didn't want to believe it. I decided to dig deeper. I started paying closer attention. I checked our home security cameras, something I never did before. That's when I saw it. A clip of Daniel's car parked outside my house at midnight when I was away on a business trip. I felt sick. But I still didn't have proof of the affair itself. Just suspicion. So I did what any sane person would do, I hired a private investigator. It only took a week for him to deliver a folder filled with evidence. Photos of them entering a hotel together. Messages between them. Secret meetings in my own house. My best friend and my wife. I don't know how to describe the feeling. Betrayal doesn't even come close. It was like my entire world had been rewritten overnight. The rage that built inside me was unlike anything I had ever experienced. I could have confronted them immediately, could have screamed, could have thrown fists. But I wanted something more. I wanted them to feel the weight of their actions. That's when the idea came to me. The investors' meeting was in a week. It was the biggest deal of our careers. These were people with deep pockets who could turn our company into a powerhouse. Daniel and I were supposed to present together, to show a united front. It was the perfect stage for what I had planned. I spent the next few days acting normal. Pretending I didn't know. Kissing Emma goodnight. Discussing business strategies with Daniel. Inside, I was counting the days. Then, the day arrived. The boardroom was filled with important people. The investors were seated, waiting for us to present. Daniel stood beside me, unaware that I was about to destroy him. Emma was there too, dressed elegantly, smiling like the perfect wife. I took a deep breath, steadied myself, and began. I started the presentation as expected, talking about our company's growth, our vision, our plans for the future. But then, I took a turn. I clicked to the next slide, and instead of business projections, a photo appeared on the screen. A picture of Daniel and Emma kissing outside the hotel. The room fell into stunned silence. Before anyone could react, I continued clicking. More photos. More evidence. The private messages between them, projected for everyone to see. Gasps filled the room. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." I could hear my own heartbeat, loud and steady. Emma turned pale. She shot up from her chair, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Daniel, on the other hand, just sat there frozen, as if his brain had short-circuited. I let the silence stretch before finally speaking. This is the man you're about to invest in. A man who betrays those closest to him. If he can do this to his best friend, imagine what he'll do to you. The investors looked at each other, whispering. One of them, a serious-looking older man, stood up and simply said, "I don't do business with liars." Just like that, the deal was dead. Emma finally found her voice. "You're insane. How could you do this here?" I turned to her, my voice calm. "How could I not?" Daniel shot up, rage finally overtaking his shock. "You ruined everything." "No," I corrected him. "You did." And then I walked out. But it wasn't over. As I drove away from the office, my phone started blowing up. Calls from Emma. From Daniel. From our employees, confused and panicking. I ignored them all. I needed to think. To figure out my next move. Because the fallout from this was going to be massive. I had destroyed my business in one move. Maybe I had destroyed my entire career. But there was something satisfying about it too. The look on their faces, the way their perfect little secret came crashing down in front of an audience. It felt like justice. But was it? Some people might say I went too far. That I should have handled it privately. That I should have thought about the consequences before acting on emotion. Maybe they're right. Maybe I let my anger take control. Or maybe they deserved every second of it. Now, I'm sitting here, wondering what comes next. The dust hasn't even settled yet, and I know there's more drama coming my way. Emma won't just let this go. Daniel won't either. And I still have to figure out what to do about my business. So tell me, am I the a-hole? Update. I didn't sleep the night after exposing Emma and Daniel. My phone was still ringing nonstop, my inbox flooded with messages from employees, clients, and even friends who had seen or heard about what happened. I had detonated a nuclear bomb in my life, and now I had to deal with the fallout. I finally turned my phone off and just sat in my car, staring at the city lights, trying to figure out my next move. I wasn't just dealing with personal betrayal anymore. My entire business was now on the line. Without that investor deal, we were in serious financial trouble. The employees who depended on me, the years of hard work, it all hung in the balance. But I couldn't regret what I did. Not when I pictured the way Daniel and Emma looked when their dirty little secret was dragged into the light. Still, as much as that moment had satisfied me, reality was settling in, and it wasn't pretty. By morning, I decided to check back in at the office. The moment I stepped in, all eyes were on me. Some people looked impressed, others shocked, and a few were downright furious. My assistant rushed up to me, her face pale. Daniel had already been in, trying to spin the situation in his favor. He was telling everyone that I had lost my mind, that I had staged a ridiculous spectacle out of jealousy, and that the company was now suffering because of my impulsiveness. When I finally walked into my office, I found Daniel already sitting there, waiting. His face was red with anger, but his voice was eerily calm. "You have two choices," he said. "Either you walk away from this company and let me clean up the mess you made, or I will make sure you're the one who takes the fall for this disaster." I laughed in his face. He thought he could still manipulate me, still control the narrative. But he underestimated just how much I had been preparing for this. I pulled out a folder and slid it across the desk. Inside was a collection of evidence that I had quietly gathered over the years, proof of Daniel's shady business dealings, unethical transactions, and financial mismanagement. I knew about his secret accounts, the money he had funneled out of the company. I had tolerated it for the sake of our partnership, but now, it was my weapon. His face went from angry to panicked in seconds. "If I walk away," I said, "I take this to the authorities." "Your choice." Daniel had no response. He just stood up, his hands shaking, and stormed out. The war between us had just begun. But what I didn't expect was the next twist. Later that day, Emma showed up at my office. Unlike Daniel, she wasn't angry, she was desperate. She was crying, pleading with me to listen. It was a mistake, she kept saying. She had been lonely, she felt neglected, she didn't mean to hurt me. I stared at her, the woman I had once loved, now reduced to a mess of tears and excuses. And then she dropped a bombshell. "I think I might be pregnant." My mind went blank. I couldn't breathe. Because if she was telling the truth, then there was another question that needed answering: was the baby even mine? Another update. The days after Emma's shocking confession were pure chaos. My head was spinning. I hadn't even begun to recover from the fallout of exposing their affair, and now I had to deal with the possibility that she was carrying a child, one that might not even be mine. I refused to let her manipulate me with emotions. I told her flat out that if she was pregnant, we were doing a DNA test the moment that baby was born. She didn't argue. She just cried harder, begging me not to hate her. I wanted to feel something: anger, sadness, even pity, but I was just numb. My life had become a storm, and I was in the center of it, just waiting for the next wave to hit. But Emma wasn't the only problem. Daniel was getting desperate too. I had crushed his credibility in front of the investors, and now I had the evidence that could put him in legal trouble. He knew his days were numbered. That's when he did something I didn't see coming. He tried to turn my employees against me. Whispers started spreading in the office. People were saying that I was the one who had been dishonest, that my outburst at the investor meeting had been reckless, that I was letting personal problems destroy the company. Some employees were loyal to me, but others? They started questioning my leadership. Daniel was smart, He knew how to manipulate people. He played the victim, saying I had humiliated him over a personal matter, that I was dragging my own wife into a business feud. It was infuriating, but I had no time to waste on office politics. I needed to move fast. I met with the legal team, showed them the evidence of Daniel's financial crimes, and made my decision. I was pushing him out. The moment I made the announcement that Daniel was being investigated for financial misconduct, everything changed. Employees who had been doubting me suddenly went silent. No one wanted to be on the wrong side of a potential criminal case. But Daniel wasn't going down quietly. That night, I received a text from an unknown number. It was a picture of my house. And the message beneath it? You have no idea what you've started. I didn't know if it was a threat or just a scare tactic, but I wasn't taking chances. I packed a bag and checked into a hotel, keeping my location secret. Emma was still trying to call me, sending messages about how we needed to talk, how she missed me, how she just wanted to fix things. But there was nothing left to fix. I wasn't just trying to save my business anymore. I was trying to save myself. And then, 2 days later, I got a call that made my blood run cold. The police were looking for Daniel. He had disappeared. Final update. The news of Daniel's disappearance spread like wildfire. Some people thought he had skipped town to avoid legal trouble. Others speculated that he had been involved in something far worse than I had uncovered. But the truth? The truth was even more insane than I could have imagined. A week after he vanished, I got a call from the police. They had found him. Not in another country, not hiding in some shady motel, he was in the hospital. Apparently, he had been attacked. Badly. They wouldn't give me details, but they were looking into possible foul play. Suddenly, my war with him took on a whole new level of danger. Because whoever had done this? They weren't just trying to scare him. They wanted him gone. And if Daniel had enemies willing to go this far, then I was next. Meanwhile, Emma was still in my life, still clinging to the idea that we could work things out. She kept insisting she was pregnant, and part of me still wondered if it was true. But I wasn't going to play her game. I told her to prepare for a divorce, that there was no coming back from what she did. She snapped. All that sweetness and regret vanished in an instant. If you do this, she hissed, I will take everything. She wasn't just talking about money. She was talking about reputation, about turning people against me, about making sure I suffered as much as she did. And for the first time, I realized just how dangerous she really was. Daniel was out of the picture, but now I had a new problem. Emma was on a warpath. And as much as I wanted to walk away from all of this, I knew one thing for sure. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. If there's one thing I've learned from this nightmare, it's that trust is your most valuable currency. Once it's broken, there's no buying it back. Never ignore the red flags, never put blind loyalty above your own well-being, and most importantly, never let betrayal break you. When people show you who they truly are, believe them the first time. Stand your ground, protect what's yours, and remember, sometimes, walking away isn't weakness, it's the strongest move you can make.